Thanks for tuning in the 6-3 podcast. I'm your host, Joel, my co-host, Ben. The Super Bowl just happened on Sunday. I'm having a girl. That was the big news.
And huge news. Biggest news of the day.
Biggest news. Came in the form of a lottery scratch off.
Did. So, it was a lottery.
Yeah, it was good stuff. Matthew Stafford, last minute bowed out, said he was going to announce it via cameo, and man screwed me. But he did not screw the Rams.
A
little busy winning the Super Bowl. So mad props to LA Rams, won 23-20 against the Cincinnati Bengals, and what was a very good Super Bowl. Anytime it comes down to one of the last drives of the game, it always makes for good press. The Bengals, again, like from being a team that looked like a bottom 5 team or potentially a top 5 draft pick going into the regular season, the defense showed out, and the linebackers perform. I mean, between Jermaine Pratt and Logan Wilson, who people have typically lower regard for, they stepped up as part of that front seven. The signing of Trey Hendrickson was huge. The emergence of Sam Hubbard getting better each year. The interior of BJ Hill and Larry Ogunjobi, like lots of reasons. DJ Reader, lots of reasons that front seven has been extremely effective. The solid, sturdy secondary of Eli Apple, who's been getting a lot of flack. Trey Waynes, Jesse Bates III, Von Bell. That defense is actually really solid, and that's been a big reason behind their success, other than, Joey Burrow making it happen without an offensive line. And if I'm the Bengals, I've learned my lesson now. Joey Burrow, you chose the weapon. You chose the receiving superstar weapon over the elite offensive tackle in the draft this year. So that means your 31st pick of the draft, and then probably your second round, whether it's like 63rd, it needs, I think you go back to back lineman, and then try to sign a free agent lineman if you can, or even make a trade, because Joey Burrow has to stay on his feet. And then I think this team is extremely close. Mm-hmm. To me, that's a huge weak point for them.
Here's the difficulty for the Bengals. Like you're definitely ahead of schedule if you're just like planning it all out. And that's a good thing. I mean, obviously it sells tickets that, that makes you a lot of money, all that type of stuff. But now it wouldn't surprise me if they take a little bit of a step back. I think it's they have to make the playoffs, but and they probably will next year. But it's just kind of one of those things where it's like you're ahead of schedule, and now, and everything kind of had to go right for you to get to this point. And maybe you played a little above your head to get to the Super Bowl now. And there's still a ton of holes on this team. And now you don't draft in the top 10. You're not drafting a guy who might be able to be a plug and play guy right away. You're suddenly falling back in the draft, which is a good thing. That means you had a great regular season, but now it's like you can't build as easily through the draft. So you got to start to be a little more creative. A lot of their players are still on their rookie contract, so they've still got a lot of guys that some flexibility financially, and they still have a lot of guys that are cheap right now. But now it's like it wouldn't have been the end of the world if they had like you said, been a top 5 draft pick, top 10 draft pick. Probably it wouldn't have been the end of the world for that fan base or that organization. Mm-hmm. And now it's like, oh, what do we do now? How do we deal with this success? How do we plan for this when it probably came a year, maybe even 2 years earlier than most people thought. So it'll be really interesting to see what they do.
You can't measure heart, and I felt like that's what the Bengals kind of brought to the table every week. Like their defense just played hard every single week, and Joe Burrow found success without offensive line. I think Zach Taylor created an offense that really worked for getting the ball out quick to Uzoma, Chase, Boyd, Higgins. Like there are options. Obviously, Mixon and Evans can also play out of the backfield. And all those guys just really stepped up, because on paper, that team didn't look super impressive when standing next side by side to other team rosters.
No.
So yeah, I'm 100% with you. That's a great point. They are probably a year or two ahead of schedule for sure. And I think the fan base would have been excited for, even a 6-7 win season. And here they are.
Yeah, I think it would have been fine. It would have been fine if they looked better. And suddenly it's like, oh, we went to the Super Bowl.
And just to help you, Joe Burrow.
And very easily could have won the Super Bowl. I mean, we haven't really gotten into the actual game but they very easily could have won that game. It would not have surprised me at all the way that game was being played.
they just played really gritty football. And then obviously that brings us to the Rams, who never were expected to pick, higher than 24. Like they were expected
Right.
24 to 32 all year,
Right.
which is winning the wild card at least, and making it to divisional playoffs. So,
Yep.
what do you say about the Rams? I mean, they averaged less than 2 yards a carry on the ground.
Mhm.
Cooper Kupp was pretty much held in check. That entire offense is really held in check until about the
Till the
third
end.
quarter. And
Yeah.
then,
Yeah, I mean, I think they were moving the ball decent. Then OBJ went down. It's a lot easier to cover those guys when OBJ is not creating problems. Because I think he's kind of not necessarily the forgotten guy, but you have to pay so much attention to Cup. OBJ can find himself open. He did, especially early in the game, and then he went down. So it's a lot easier to cover them when he's out. Stafford played a little bit of an up and down game, but I thought he was obviously great in the fourth quarter, like he typically is. They had no running game. I don't know. It was kind of a game where I wasn't overly impressed by McVay. I wasn't overly impressed by a whole lot that they were doing. It wasn't flashy, but hey, they got the job done. And a lot of that, you got to give some credit to the Bengals. The Bengals did a really good job holding them in check for the most part, for pretty much the whole game. But yeah, I mean, they were obviously expected to be there. I mean, I wouldn't say everybody necessarily expected them to be in the Super Bowl, but a lot of people did. I mean, I think you picked them in there. Isaiah did. I didn't, but I think I
you still
probably
had
said
to win a playoff game.
Yeah, I still had them right there. I think in the conference championship game. So, I think I said it wouldn't surprise me if they were there. And that was before they picked up, OBJ and some of these other guys, Von Miller.
Well, it's because I think OBJ is a perfect sub for Robert Woods. Robert Woods is obviously an upper echelon receiver too. So they filled in that spot as well. And obviously McVay became the youngest Super Bowl winning coach. But I agree with you. McVay, I think, was once again bailed out by Stafford in a comeback, in a fourth quarter comeback, because McVay's coaching the last two games for the Rams was heinous. I was watching that. I mean, when I was watching that Super Bowl, I was like, what is he doing? Why are they not trying to run the ball now? They got that free first down handed to them, by the refs.
I didn't love McVay. I didn't love Taylor's some of his third down calls. The third down before the last play of the last real play of the game was horrible by the Bengals, running the ball with Samaje Perine. Like, what? Like, what are we doing?
Perine got almost all those snaps too in that last drive.
Exactly. Like, I mean, I don't know if Joe Mixon was like banged up or what was going on, but like Perine hadn't done anything all game, and you're not going they're going to like not necessarily going to sell out for the run given the situation, but it's like you're asking for problems when you're trying to block Aaron Donald with anybody, even if you're doubling him. And Aaron Donald really put the team on his back at the end of the game. I mean, he made those last two plays. He just said, we're ending this here, which was incredible to see for a defensive tackle. But it's like you're just playing with fire when you're putting yourself in that situation where you're letting Aaron Donald go wreck the game for you. And I just thought that was stupid. So yeah, some of the coaching decisions, just some of the play calling stuff on both sides was not my favorite. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, but two young guys, both I think still definitely promising, still very good coaches in my opinion, but still learning for sure.
It is impressive to talk about. I mean, I've already brought up how the Bengals offensive line has really been kind of the thorn in their side for much of the season, because Burrow was sacked 51 times in the regular season, which is more than any other quarterback in the league. And then obviously got sacked 7 more times in the Super Bowl, 2 by Von Miller, 2 by Aaron Donald, Ashawn Robinson got in there, Leonard Floyd got in there, Ernest Jones even did. So it's like they were holding them in check. I'm pretty sure they only had Ashawn Robinson had 1 sack, and I think that was all they had until 7 minutes and 30 seconds in the third quarter.
Yeah, and they just went nuts.
Yeah, and then they just were blowing up. And I think part of that was when I was watching Von Miller in the first 2 quarters, he was trying to outrun basically the tackle. And eventually he started like faking that outside run after he did it the first half, and he would cut inside, juke inside and start winning those battles. after he gets the tackle off balance. So I think getting that help on the edge was extremely fruitful for them. Obviously, Aaron Donald was playing for his life, and then talks of him potentially retiring after if they win still kind of looms. So I think he was giving it everything he had to really get it this time, and he was huge in that last drive. Obviously, made the last hit on Burrow where the ball went up to P. Ryan, which again,
too much P. Ryan. Again, too much P. Ryan.
Yeah,
not that anybody's making that play, but like, come on.
Like, P. Ryan 2 carries for 0 yards in that game. I'm pretty sure that was his one.
They were
target
both on 3rd and 1.
Yeah, it's just Chris Evans is the guy you want if you're going to do a receiving type of situation. And I questioned a lot of calls on both sides by the coaches, but Matt Stafford, I think, he's the first quarterback since 2011 with Eli Manning to have a fourth quarter comeback in the conference championship game and the Super Bowl.
Yep.
So it's been.
He was great. 11. He had great playoffs. I know he was a little up and down in the game, in the actual Super Bowl. Interception off of Skoronek's hands.
That's not his fault. Yeah. And he went big on one of those because it was a situation where it's pretty much essentially a punt. But
so it wasn't anything crazy. I didn't think he was amazing, but I thought he was good. I thought he was very good.
Yeah, and he's just clutch. He goes 4-0 in the playoffs in his first year with the Rams, and 3 of those were game-winning drives. So let's answer that.